Okay. Kingdom tunnel.
Amor fati. Viewer discernment is advised.
All of this, all this goy slop, all of this, it's the same thing that happened in Germany in the 40s and everything, and we've talked about that. Go check out our KLK cases on our X, on channel KLK TV on X, or where we go over Epstein and things like that. We're going to be continuing those and getting to more things that would be censored on YouTube. But yes, so this is repeated before. It is a tactic, and a lot of the words that we can use on YouTube, right, is progressive. They're progress. Where are they progressing from? There has to be a origin for there to be something to progress from, to move away from, and that is center. That is God. That is natural home. And so the further we get from center, the further away we get from nature, the further away we get from God, right? The more things are going to get weird and weirder and weirder. And this kind of gets into the whole thing that, like, to be rebellious now is you have to be traditional, right? You have to be a traditionalist in a way to rebel. You have to be anti-technology, anti all of this in a way to be any semblance of progressive against or rebellious against the mainstream, because the mainstream isn't traditional anymore. It's not conservative anymore. It's now progressive. It is now liberalism. It is all this. And again, like, don't get us wrong, left and right, that's a psyop within itself, right? But we're seeing that we're moving further away from that center, from God, from nature, from that base, and to the point of they're really, like, when they talk with what we're going to be talking about within these articles with Odyssey, they will gaslight you as if the norm is still traditional conservative. It's the norm is still American, like European kind of, patriarchy. They'll say all these words as if that is even you could even call a norm now, and you can't. And so, I was actually thinking about this the other day. The reason why they subvert the hero's journey and these archetypes is because the natural, it's the recipe, the ingredients God used to create us, right? And so they are wanting to subvert that. They are wanting to, their whole thing is really, it's a spiritual war. It's against God. It's against nature, right? So
creating their own image, so to speak. Yeah.
So they're attacking it at its core, which are these archetypes, which is the hero's journey. So if they subvert it, if they invert it, and so when they invert things, when they subvert things, when they gaslight you that, oh, this is still the norm, when it's not the norm in the mainstream anymore, they are within themselves admitting that is still the original thing, right? Like the whole Tolkien quote, "Evil cannot create." They still, to subvert this, still have to reference that there is a original way of doing things, a natural way of a building block, a blueprint of things. That
I've heard that a term for that this week. It was called ars priori or something like that, and I'd never heard that. And I guess it's Latin, but ars means art, right? But the art of priority or something like that. And it was the way it was being used was it's like something that is just a fundamental truth that you shouldn't have to provide evidence or citation for, because like nobody's done research on like what is a man, what is a woman. Well, it's common sense, right? But like they want to try and muddy the waters, right? But in ways that are like very basic like that, right?
Yeah, and same thing with the hero's journey. The hero's journey, I've been doing a lot of short form content on our YouTube and Instagram and our X, and I've been getting more into symbolism that relates to like primordial things, northern things, and using this Taoist idea of of the Tao, of Wuji and Taiji, of Yin and Yang, and that kind of fractaling out to kind of help explain things, and in that as above so below kind of sense, in the hero's journey here, you'll see the known and the unknown. The unknown is the bottom half. The known is the top half. The known is where we start out at, right, in the hero's journey. And then when we take that leap of faith, we go into the unknown to return to the known after we slay the dragon. And like I said, I was looking at it biblically. I was looking at these things kind of biblically and Taoistically, and I realized in that sense that when in the book of Genesis, for instance, and when they were describing biblical Earth, they're talking about when God created heaven and earth, and he separated the waters of heaven and earth, and then you get into that kind of Taoistic sense of like the first split and everything, and that can, to me, I was like, well, that's just the known and the unknown in the hero's journey. That's where that split is. And so us going on the hero's journey is like God coming down to earth in different forms and doing things and returning, creating life, go and do things on earth and returning, right? Like we see in all kinds of different mythology, including like what we talked about with the Odyssey. And so when you go on your hero's journey, you're not just bringing stories back for God, which that's a big part of what we do here on earth, is live a life with the script that we're giving, will some improv, make it interesting, and have a story to tell when we go back to experience this. Amor fati, whatever the fate is, appreciate it, right? And we're doing that, but we're also in that as above, so below, since we are acting as God when we go on our hero journey, as we're acting as God did when he created Earth and did the split when we go from the known to the unknown in a way. And even when we, come to Earth and go back to heaven, that crossing over there's a parallel there with creation. And so when they subvert the hero's journey, they're subverting these natural archetypes and tropes and building blocks of creation, really. So, and 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 they admitted that they want to, mock God. They want to subvert God. They want to rebel against God in that sense. And so there is a purpose intent of subverting the hero journey, and that's why when you hear a hero's journey, it inspires you to do your own, right? It doesn't just hold knowledge to be passed down from generation to generation. It also inspires us to be here, to go on our own hero journey, and to do all, to go through our life and go from archetype to archetype when need be. And so that's why it's important for a boy to have a man to look up to, a hero to look up to, right? And that's why we're always looking for a good story to inspire us in that way. We're always looking, and even in our day-to-day life, we're always looking for a mentor, regardless, even if we know it consciously or not. So subconsciously or consciously, we're looking for a mentor, looking for someone to look up to, a role model, if you will. And that's why these stories resonate with us. And I heard someone say that your hero's hero is Achilles. And so Achilles is really...
That's an interesting quote. He's like the original hero, basically.
Yeah, it's like Achilles is like the hero that your hero looked up to be who they are, right? And so I thought that was a interesting quote with what we're going to be talking about. And one other quote, I believe it's a C.S. Lewis quote, actually, I wanted to reference is, and I'm paraphrasing with this, of course, is that when you take a story that is timeless and you try to retell it through a modern lens and add something modern to it, you're essentially ruin it, and you spoil it. You'll spoil that recipe. No matter what your intentions are, no matter if you're whatever political affiliation you are, whatever modern ideology you want to advocate for with your retelling of an old story, you're spoiling it by trying to modernize it. And so with that being said, that will get us into us talking about the Odyssey. And so, Branch, do you have some of the links for us?
I do, and I did have an epiphany while listening to you talk about the Odyssey thus far. So, if I may, can I share the one thing that Christopher Nolan did get correct?
Yeah, go for it.
Achilles was, in fact, at least bisexual, because he has a lover named Patroclus. Starts with a P. Patroclus or something like that. Anyway, so by casting this, whatever they did, and that's the only thing he got right. But like, obviously, that was not much either. But yeah,
well,
normally
it's interesting that you say that. I wasn't actually going to bring that up, but it's that what you're referencing. It's something that a lot of people are bringing up within the conversation. That's a story that was told like much later and everything. So it's not in like Achilles' root origin. something that was like in one story that was like told
Actually,
like
will agree with
hundreds of
that
years later.
because I didn't know until very recently. So
What?
I said I will agree with that because I was not aware of that until very recently when somebody told me, because I actually am pretty well versed with Greek myth and did not know that. And
Yeah.
I've even read the Odyssey. It's just that I was in high school at the time, so maybe I didn't pick up on the homosexual undertones or
Yeah.
whatever. But now that I'm older and I've heard it from a friend told me, I was like, oh, okay. But yeah. So
Okay.
anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. But then you look at Brad Pitt, and it's like he wasn't gay in that movie at all. You know what I mean? So I guess for the Romans and Greeks, gay was something different. But that's not even an element in that story, So anyway, I just thought it was kind of funny to rib Nolan a little bit, be like, that's not really a compliment to him, but he might take it that way.
Yeah. And so we'll get through this and get through the production and all everything around Christopher Nolan's Odyssey here. This first link that you have this is the Lupita chick that is playing Helen of Troy. The lovely hair, pale skin, lovely hair. Isn't that how she is described in the Odyssey? And
I think there is a comment about her fair skin and her eyes and maybe her hair.
Fair skin, pale skin, like lovely long locks of hair and everything.
Which reminds you of who? What other woman is described that way? Woman of myth.
Oh, I trying to say the whole Snow White thing.
Yeah, dude. It just came to my mind when you said that, except maybe different colored hair, perhaps.
Yeah. And so, of course, those are a race swap here. And, it is intentional, and they are lying through their teeth. They are gaslighting us about this. They're saying that you are, in fact, racist for wanting a Greek story to look Greek.
It's like that Pawn Stars meme. Can I get a fair complected, blue eyed, blonde babe? I'm sorry, the best I can do is a Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No deal.
And I think and the reason why I say that they're gaslighting you, that they're lying through their teeth with this double standard is, and I believe it's this article that you have here, Brant. And if you want, I'll let you read it in a second. But essentially, what we're going to be talking about with this is this. So this Lupita chick, she's been in Hollywood for years now. She was actually in Black Panther. I believe she was in both Black Panther and the sequel. And essentially in the interview for Black Panther, she's praising how it's authentically African culture being represented, right? And she's saying all these platitudes and everything, and she's going on and on.
A made up place, a fictional place, is true culture. Yep.
And then people are comparing that she did in interviews years ago when Black Panther came out, comparing her stance on it from that to what she's saying now when being interviewed about Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. And she is essentially saying the opposite, right? She's saying that, well, this story represents the world. It's a global story, right? And you're racist if you say otherwise. And Christopher Nolan is saying, well, she's just so beautiful. And in the description of Helena of Troy, she's the face that wants 1,000 ships. So beauty's subjective, right? And so, and nothing's objective. And so they're lying to you. It only matters when it is a root European story. If it was an African story, it would be racist to cast a white person and Black Panther. And we see this going on today. I don't have an article for it, but essentially people are upset with Mel Gibson's Resurrection of Christ movie that he's doing, because the person that's playing Jesus is a white man. And so,
Oh yeah, that's a big thing on Twitter. Like that's a
yeah.
big debate.
And so it's like, oh, so these people are okay when it's African culture being African, and they're not okay with biblical things having white people in it. But they are okay with a inherent European Greek, white cultural story be worldly and have race swaps. So they're gaslighting you, they're lying to you. They generally are doing this in spite of not just the hero journey, not just of men, but of the culture of Greece, of European. And so if you want to read some of that, maybe Brant, if you feel like it, that's kind of what this article, I believe, is about, is her comments and how they are double standard.
Okay. Lupita's defense of her role in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey has reignited scrutiny of comments she made years ago about cultural representation in Marvel's Black Panther. Critics now argue that the Oscar winner's early emphasis on authenticity conflicts with her response to backlash over her casting as Helen of Troy, turning a casting controversy into a broader debate about consistency and representation. Man, I hate to bring up Snow White again, but who does this remind you of? You know who?
Yeah.
Like, do we even remember her name anymore?
Rachel Zegler.
Yeah. I always have to think, though, because I have forgotten her name before. Why old Black Panther comments are back in the spotlight. The controversy centers on remarks that Lupita made while promoting Black Panther, where she praised the film's efforts to avoid treating Africa as a single monolithic culture. In the resurfaced interview, Lupita said Black Panther helped challenge long-standing misconceptions about Africa and highlighted the importance of respecting the continent's cultural diversity. After all, Wakanda, or whatever it's called, was the fictitious kingdom, right? It didn't even exist. So what are we really celebrating there? So she is quoted, quote, "That's important to me because I'm all about the demystification of the African continent." Yes, the long lost lands of Wakanda. She also emphasized that the filmmakers worked to ground Wakanga, there we go, Wakanga, fictional world in the real African traditions, languages, and cultures, rather than presenting a generalized version of the continent. According to her comments, the production incorporated influences from multiple African cultures and even required cast members to learn elements of the XHOSA language and accent work to strengthen authenticity, again, for a fictional country. And we're talking about a real country with the Odyssey, so I think that's kind of the double standard here too, Okay, critics claim a double standard. The renewed criticism emerged after Lupita's publicly responded to the objections over her casting as Helen of the Troy. Some social media users argue that if cultural specificity specificity was important when discussing African representation in Black Panther. The same principle should apply to the Greek mythology and characters traditionally depicted as Greek, which is exactly our point here. One viral post that gained significant attention accused Lupita of applying different standards depending on the culture represented. Yes. Critics have also pointed to reports that she previously declined involvement in, quote, The Woman King because of concerns about how aspects of African history were portrayed, further fueling accusations of inconsistency. The debate has become less focused on the casting itself and more centered on whether Lupita's earlier views on representation align with her current defense of Nolan's creative choices. So in other words, she does what she's paid and told to do, it sounds like to me. And, well, I think she'd have a hard time disproving that. Because here she's turning down roles,
Yeah, she's turning down roles for not being, accurate to its authenticity of culture and representation.
And you know what Christ would call that? Hypocrisy, which means what?
Well, hypocrisy literally means actor.
So she's doing exactly what she's trained to do.
Yeah, technically it's like, well, she is literally being what she's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, how can you really fault her?
At the same time, we are, when it comes to mythologies and stories, if I'm looking for a European mythology and story, whether, any country within Europe, I'm looking for it to be authentic to that. If I'm looking for one that's African or Asian, whether it's Chinese or Japanese or whatever, I'm looking for it to be authentically of that region. And so there should be equal understanding of, well, this is a Greek story, so it should be all Greek. And if you want to tell an authentic African story, go make one. Go make a movie about a Nazi, the spider mythology god figure, deity, demigod. Go make a Nazi movie and have Lupita be in it if you really wanted to do that. Because we know if we did end up making a Nazi movie and had the spider deity played by a white guy instead of an African guy, it wouldn't hold up. These same people would be upset.
Do you remember that Dave Chappelle skit from back in the day where he had, I can't remember, it was Mooney, the colored dude. He was on there talking about how he was talking about The Last Samurai starring Tom Cruise. He's like, well, here's an idea for you, Tom Hanks starring in Last Black Person on Earth, and it just kind of reminds me of this. It's like they were even making fun of this. How long ago was that? Like 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
So they've been at it for a while, and I think it's just gotten to the point now where it's kind of comical, because I can't wait to see if this wouldn't it be funny if it just went straight to what was it you said, Netflix or DVD or something? Like, it doesn't even, it'd be funny if they pulled it out of theaters after like a week.
Pre-sale for opening for, because it's an IMAX movie. Christopher Nolan gets the special IMAX cameras.
Of course.
And so it all sold out like last year before there was an announcement of he was even going to fully be in it.
That seems kind of inauthentic, because he can only so actually that's a strategy. He only has to fill so many theaters as opposed to filling all theaters. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's kind of a cop out.
So it'll make money opening weekend because of that, but
Now wait a second. What if so they already sold the tickets?
Yeah, so those already sold out showings for opening weekend in IMAX.
But will anybody be there? So didn't this happen where who was it? I think it was Zegler again.
Yeah,
remember?
no, there was that video of her. She went to go surprise people in the theater, and no one was there. It was only her.
Yeah, so maybe that'll happen again. And see, I bet in that case, I bet you all the tickets were sold, and then nobody showed up. So I hope that happens here too. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
I hate to keep bringing up Snow White. I didn't anticipate so many parallels, but it's really the same thing, I guess, when you think about it.
It really is, and it just gets more and more hypocritical. The hypocrisy that keeps on building as we go through these articles.
So the real question here, though, is who's behind all this? You know what I mean? Who's pounding this square peg into the round hole? Because like none of this makes sense. How could this have been his first choice? You know, like did he even read the Odyssey? It reminds me of Villeneuve, who probably didn't read Dune.
Well, we'll get into it, but Christopher Nolan said that he's pretty sure. I think the quote was he was pretty sure he read Emily Willison's version, which is the radical feminist version that sucks all the life out of it. And even she purposely on the cover has 3 women on it and not Odysseus on her copy of the Odyssey. But essentially
it could be a reference to the Fates, but still, it's obviously she's trying to make it more feminine.
Yeah,
I guess.
She has talked about how, we'll get into it, that with this article, how she wanted to take out like all the patriarchy and the misogyny and do it through like a more like modern lens and to make it equal. But her excuse of why she does that in this article is she says that previous translations has made it more misogynistic, more patriarchal.
But dude, you got to see this right here. The Chicago Writers Showcase. She's on a panel with some real gems. So this is where his source material is coming from, huh?
Yeah, but even when you look at her quotes from her version of the Odyssey compared to previous ones, hers is so dry, and like she takes out all like the poetry, the flow of it, all the breath, the artistry, all of that. It's just she's like, oh yeah, he went and did this, and it's like she simplifies it so much for all the beauty, all the nuance of the story is completely stripped away and gone, and it's really sad. So, point being, if this is the version Nolan read, and he didn't read any of the other translations, he, on top of having his own things that he wanted to do with his movie, there was probably already some things lost when he was reading this version of it.
So is this the essence of what postmodernism is? Is that people are born into thinking that the copy of a copy is the original, and they don't even have any connection to the original source material for anything, and so things like this happen, and so there'll be generations of people growing up thinking that Helen of Troy was black or whatever, and it's like, but no, actually she wasn't, and it's because of these like avant-garde new age artistic movements that it's like they mess with people's it's like a revisionism. They're trying to change history or something.
Yeah, and this goes with like the whole like white erasure sort of thing. And not only is like the whole.
I agree with that totally.
The white population going down, birth rate rise, just like the Japanese, but also you have in colleges in Europe, they are now teaching that Anglo-Saxons was not its own race, that the Anglo-Saxons never existed, that it was made up. So if you are a fellow Anglo-Saxon, you are mythical. You do not exist. According to, I guess, universities across Europe, um, that's what's seems like that there was, I think it was last White Boy Summer, there was a news clip from Europe going around talking about that. So it is like a white erasure thing, erasing culture in that way.
Yes, but did you see today that White Boy Summer memes have overtaken Pride Month on June 1st?
And they did
So
last
it
year
looks
too, so round two. Yeah.
so we're winning. It's a W.
Yes. White dormancy, the white man is waking up. Is going to get primordial here.
Did
But,
you want to
yeah, if
anything on
did
this page in
he
particular?
get the other one where it had the side by sides of all the different translations? Or is that the only one that you have? Yeah. I wanted to show this one really quick. You don't have to read this one. We can go back to the other one and you can read it. But I just wanted to show this one really quick. So here you have multiple different iterations of the Odyssey, and then you see hers, and if you look at it, it's so bland. It's not only is her expert shorter than the others, but it's very bland. It takes all the like actual poetry and imagery out of the translation. So, like, politics aside, she seems to not have the spark as a writer to poetically like tell a story. But yeah, if you want to go back to the other one and maybe read a bit of that article. I just wanted to show the translation side by side just briefly. Yeah. Yeah, you can close that Lupita one and just go back to the Emily Wilson Odyssey one, and if you wanted to read a little bit of that, you can. Just any part of it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I was talking. I'm just going to read down to here because it looks like this begins some type of dialogue with an interview or something. So we'll just read this piece up here.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a man or a woman? I mean, it kind of would make sense if she was a tranny, I guess, that she wrote this. But I mean, it's a pity though if she really is a woman, because look at that strong jaw, man. It's like, that chiseled jaw, right? Because like you could make a bust of her jaw. Anyway, the Odyssey, the ancient Greek epic attributed to Homer, has been translated into English at least 60 times since the 17th century. But only one of those translations is by a woman. Her name is Emily Wilson, as featured in the photo above. And she's a professor of classical studies at the University of Pennsylvania. Her brilliant new translation hit shelves in November. In this interview, we discuss how her identity as a woman and a cisgendered feminist, well, I guess she outs herself right there. She's not a whatever. Because that means you were born a woman or something like that, right? I don't know. Sometimes I get confused about this stuff. It's all Greek to me.
Yeah, it's all great.
Informs her translation work how her Odyssey translation honors both ancient traditions and contemporary reading practices, and what Homer meant when he called Dawn repeatedly rosy fingered. Quote, this interview has been edited slightly for length. So yes, this is an interview. And it kind of goes on for a minute, actually. So,
Yeah, you don't have to read it all.
I know.
Yeah, that's good. We can.
But she goes all the
I
way
think
through her whole thing.
Yeah, I think we've made our point with that. What's next?
This is the second.
Oh yeah, there's that one's just more on the Lupita Helena Troy staff going into more details of her quotes.
I mean, cast her in something else, sure, whatever, but like not Helen
and also,
Troy.
don't forget Zendaya is also in this movie.
Oh, of course.
She's playing Athena.
Oh yeah. Wow.
And it's funny because she looks like she's just on the set of Dune in her Athena outfit.
Yeah, of course. Because
now
she's just a one-trick pony at this point.
Yeah, flowy garbs, and then she just has that permanent scowl on her face where she just
resting bitch face.
Yeah,
or resting Fremen face, I guess you could call it.
And it's like, is this supposed to be Odyssey or Dune? And hey, she's in this movie with her husband, whether that's contractual or not. Tom Holland.
Dude, it's, no movie's complete anymore without Zendaya in the credits. Yeah. They stick her in everything, man.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And then also people have been, and this is with any period piece or just movies in general now. The actresses and actors have so much Botox they can't make facial expressions.
Oh yeah.
So they're trying to emote and they're not emoting. So it's hard to take yourself out of a setting in a theater and into this world when ancient Greece don't look like ancient Greece. And no one's emoting, and it's all very modern looking, and it's all very gray and dull, which works in a Batman movie or a movie set in modern day, but it does not really work to have this muted gray color palette when you're in nature. And speaking of nature, here's an article of Nolan talking how old directors talk now, how it's this big dream passion he's been wanting to do for so long now, yada yada yada.
Which I'm calling bullshit on, because what did we just read in that article about Emily? She finished this book when?
Yeah, I think her translation was published in 2018 or something like that.
Whatever. Okay, fine. So it wasn't November then. But yeah, so he's had this vision for 20 years, but he bases it on the most recent translation of it. I don't know. To me, that's such a crock. So that just proves right there that he's lying.
Yeah, and this whole article, he's just lying. He goes on in this article to talk about his choice of casting Travis Scott, the rapper.
Oh, but of course,
as the poet that recites the poem of the story of Troy.
Yeah, nice touch.
And his reasoning for that is to show how that history, that culture has just been brought into modern times with rap. It's like, well, have you ever heard of the idea of bards and storytellers and like Greek poems and poets? There was this singing, storytelling culture all across Europe, um, in all cultures. You're specifically picking something that's modern to do a a race swap again, and if he was really wanting it to be historically accurate and realistic and grounded or whatever, as he goes on to talk about, uh, like he does in all his films, because he also in this interview he'll also say uh, that when it came to composing the score for it, he told his composer to not use an orchestra because ancient Greece did not have an orchestra to make music. And so that is also two-faced. If that is also like, if you are going to be historically accurate to the culture of that time period where that story, that poem was written, then why are you having people of different cultures there and say, well, I'm doing this to show that in the future it'll grow to be rap.
Man, that's like coping and delusional. I don't even.
Yeah.
He's not even. He's inconsistent. He's as inconsistent as Lupita.
Yeah. The whole thing is, the last thing I'll say that this article references before I have you read some of it, Branch, is Christopher Nolan. He's very scientific minded. Then he did Inception, he did Tenet. He's also very grounded, gritty, being raw, gritty, real, whatever. And that's why he grounded Batman, and why every superhero movie after the Dark Knight has to be grounded. And that doesn't work with the Odyssey, doesn't work with myth. And in this article, in this interview, he talked about how they asked him how he was going to handle the supernatural elements, since he's so grounded and scientifically minded when it comes to his type of storytelling. And he gives an answer that is somewhat interesting, but it's boring for storytelling. And what he says essentially is that when he was thinking about all the supernatural mystical elements, he realized that he could explain that away with natural occurrences in the environment, in nature, like natural disasters, and have these people thinking they're seeing these gods, but it's actually a natural occurrence in nature. How he's going to incorporate that into the story, I don't know, but that's at least what he says in this interview. And storytellers do that sort of thing to cut down budgets in like made-for-TV movies or TV shows. They try to make it, oh, well, that was just a natural sort of thing, but they saw it as a vision or something. And it was just a premonition. So that's a common tactic for smaller budgets. But when it comes to a bigger budget film, like Christopher Nolan, you're wanting to see something that's more fanciful, more mystical. And yeah, you can say that nature and the supernatural, nature and mysticism kind of goes hand in hand. So what he's saying kind of makes sense, but it's just with the way he's using it to explain things away, it makes it boring. And that's why I think another director that's more mystical in their type of storytelling would have been better. Like, I'm not a big Robert Eggers fan. I do like Norseman, but I think Robert Eggers would have been a better choice to make an Odyssey film, like making movies like
Well,
Norseman.
at least he would have got the fundamentals correct.
Yeah, or maybe I know I toss this director around a lot. Maybe even Del Toro could have done this movie. He would have taken liberties to make it Del Torian, but at least it would still be interesting.
I do think you have a point there because he would have, well, even better, maybe if he had done it with another director, but Del Toro focused on the creatures and the atmospheres, like the Cyclops and the sirens, and because there's a lot going on in Odyssey, So maybe even like do they even do co-director stuff ever? I don't even know if that's a thing.
Yeah.
But then in my head, that's how it would work best, is if he got to specialize on the creature side of things, maybe.
Yeah. And Christopher Nolan also doesn't like special effects. And he also doesn't even like using ADR, which is like recording audio after the fact. So that's why a lot of people say that they can't hear the audio in Christopher Nolan movies because it's so quiet, because he refuses a lot of times to get ADR. And so we'll see how he handles like the Cyclops in the cave. I know they shot that scene and they said they were going to shoot it practically. How he represents that is the question. I'm not going to watch this movie.
It's just their interpretation of a natural phenomena, I'm sure.
Yeah. So we'll see. But if you want to read some of this, you don't have to read the whole thing, but just a piece of it so we can get.
Well, I'll read this quote right here, because here we have Matt Damon apparently plays the role of Odysseus, which, I mean, that's still not a great choice, but whatever. Okay, so quote, "The script was very specific in what he was doing," Damon says. "He's very faithful to Homer because that's not somebody you should rewrite. But thematically, what he looked at was really interesting." So, yeah, I mean, just right here, Damon contradicts himself, because either A, he's not himself familiar with Homer, or B, he is and he's lying. So which is it, Because if you've read it, you know that this is not faithful to Homer. And then, so why would you say that Homer's not somebody you would rewrite, but then you're in a movie that they rewrote? So that, to me, is very disingenuous. He does continue down here. Well, not him, but the article. "Hollywood is in a precarious place," it says. "Movie theaters have been struggling to recover since the pandemic, and superheroes aren't performing like they used to. But directors like Ryan Coogler, Greta Gerwig, Jordan Peele, and Denis Villeneuve are proving that they can be as much of a draw as movie stars." Oh, see, that's what it is, dude. These directors have gotten the big head. They think they're the ones bringing in the audience, not not the stars themselves. So that's probably part of the problem, actually. These folks remind me of is the artist that creates art and then complains that it doesn't sell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
You want to make a movie that you think is just like your little slice of heaven, then do that. But don't like crap all over the culture. I don't know. He should have done his own movie. And see, this just kind of also, I think, highlights the lack of creativity that some of these people have. And so the best they can hope for is to bastardize some classic, because he couldn't come up with his own hero's journey story starring a black woman. It's like, would that really have been so hard for him to do? He could have even used AI to do it, So I don't know. I'm a little disappointed in this Nolan fella. But this is pretty much all. The article's kind of a strange one. Oh, wait, here we go. Let's maybe try to, you see what I mean? Like when you're scrolling, it's like divided up strangely. Yeah. We'll read this here because Nolan, by reputation, is a solemn figure, a no-nonsense puzzle box auteur, in a crisp waistcoat, a flask of tea tucked into his jacket pocket. Maybe it's his movies with their intricate, sometimes confounding plots. Maybe it's because he operates with intimidating efficiency on set. Maybe it's that he's notoriously private. I've been asked not to describe something or other's offices. What I can say is Nolan's family dog nuzzles visitors if they are suspected of carrying food. Yet over nearly 2 hours and 3 steaming mugs of tea, the spoiler-averse director, oh, do I wish he didn't spoil this for us, he's unexpectedly forthcoming. When I edge into territory I fear might trigger prickliness, he shrugs, says, fair enough, and delves earnestly into production decisions that have launched 1,000 Reddit posts. Oh, 1,000 ships, 1,000 Reddit posts. I see what they did there. Every time my cup runs low, he ferries a refill from the tea cart. When I spill, he reassures me as he blots up. This is reading like that Emily Wilson interview. I guess this was an interview. It read like an interview, but it wasn't an interview.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to read the whole thing. Yeah.
It's written really verbose. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And this is what I would call a fluff piece.
And there again, I don't know if it was in this interview. I think it was in just more recently. Nolan.
Oh, there she is.
Was giving all the accolades. I mean, to.
Oh no, I think you used the right word in this case.
To Zendaya, saying how she is so amazing, and how Tom Holland and Matt Damon was jealous because Nolan usually he doesn't say whether he likes the shot or not. He just says, that's good, let's move on, or let's do that again. But he kept on giving all these compliments and everything to Zendaya. And again, this reminded me of how during the making of the Dune movies, and I'm sure they're going to do it again with the new one, Dune Messiah, coming up, how Denis Villeneuve kept on saying how amazing Zendaya was, and how she was coming in even though when she wasn't even filming her own scene, and when asking him questions about directing, and how he can see her becoming a director. So they're hyping Zendaya up as if with all these quotes and talking about her in interviews and stuff, like trying to build up a origin story for like a feature director.
Oh, who will then do this in the future? So yeah.
So again, we see them creating these Hollywood ascension stories with themselves to give the all the fans, all the fanatics their goy slop.
Now, was she a Disney kid or whatever?
Yeah, she was a Disney kid.
Okay, that tracks. And you've met
Yeah.
her before, right?
Yeah. But yeah, was that it for that one?
Hold on, I hadn't
I think
scrolled down
so.
far. I mean, this is only like halfway,
Yeah, I
but
think
I don't know.
that's good.
It does mention the IMAX stuff here. Hold on, let me read
Yeah.
this. Oh, actually, this might actually be the best part because it talks about where he met. Oh, that's not the lady that read. Is that the lady that wrote the thing? No, that was Emily. Sorry. Okay, well, let me read this part about the IMAX.
Okay.
When we went on our honeymoon, he was talking about shooting on IMAX, says Thomas in a rare interview. And over time, he's gone from shooting one shot in the Prestige on IMAX just to try it out to sequences in The Dark Knight and expanding and expanding. This guy directed The Dark Knight.
Oh yeah, Christopher Nolan made The Dark Knight.
Are you kidding me? That's like one of my favorite movies ever, and it's the only movie I can watch over and over. I'm honestly shocked. I can't believe he has anything to do with that movie.
If you're wondering about the quote from Harvey Dent Two-Face when he says, "You either die here or live long enough to see yourself become the villain." That wasn't Christopher Nolan's idea. That was like his brother's idea. His brother was like, "Hey, you should make him say this." And Christopher Nolan has said in interviews before that he didn't fully understand that line, but he put it in there anyways.
And how ironic that he himself has lived long enough to become a terrible director. It's kind of the same thing. Because when you were about this, when you're saying it, I thought you were going to apply it to him.
And film buffs, Nolan Bros, as they're called, oftentimes online, they're scapegoating all Nolan's poor decision makings with this Odyssey film by saying, well, he's just doing this so he can get another Oscar, because to get an Oscar now you have to have a person of color and this and that and this and that, and you have to check off all these boxes. So his cinephile fan base are already kind of scapegoat his poor decisions in that sense.
And it looks like here, this of course has some type of weird cookie block on it, but it looks like he's casting people that he works with. So is that what's going on too? Like he works on a different movie with them and then casts them in another movie.
Yeah,
which
that happens a lot. Like Robert Pattinson's in this movie, and he worked with Robert Pattinson on Oppenheimer.
That really annoys me though, and I understand that it's probably advantageous for the directors to do stuff like that, but it's actually really lazy. Because how can you tell me that somebody is such a wonderful actor that they can just be all things? Surely there is always a best actor or actress out there for each role. And I understand casting can take a while, but like if you were truly dedicated to finding the best performer for the role and you didn't want to take away from the story, then why wouldn't he cast like some no-name actors and stuff,
Exactly.
Especially if he's such a great director. He shouldn't need all these star names.
Thank you for reminding me. I forgot to send you the link. There was an article. I think I sent it to you in a message the other day, but I forgot to add it to this. I'm not going to look for it. We can just talk about it. But there is a group in Greece that wrote a letter to Nolan, basically pleading with him to hire Greek actors and go to Greece and find Greek actors to be in the movie. And throughout this entire, it's called like a letter to Christopher Nolan to a letter to Christopher Nolan from Greece or something like that. But the entire article, the entire letter that they wrote for him is then be like, please hire actual Greek people. There's so much Greek talent here. There's so much you could do. But please don't label us as racist. We're not trying to be racist. We just want you to hire Greek actors.
We're just Greek, people. Actually. I mean, Nolan's actually being the racist one here, because what's more racist than telling somebody else's story and changing fundamental elements about it? Like, that to me is the racist thing,
Yeah. Like I said, like I like mythology from all over the world, but I want it to be its own thing, right? I want cultures to be
and be accurate.
Its own thing. Yeah.
Why not tell an African story and cast Lupita, whatever,
Exactly. Like I said, make a Nazi movie, the myth about the spider god. Like that'd be so I would probably watch that.
A Nazi spider god?
Yeah, a Nazi.
What?
Yeah, a Nazi is a African spider deity.
Oh, I misunderstood.
Yeah, I said like they just for reference make a movie about that. Like that's a good African mythology, but no one knows it, and so they much rather butcher the Odyssey and replace all the white people. But anyways,
the real irony here would be if the Odyssey was, as we know it, was really a rendition of a previous Odyssey before it, but I doubt that's the case. I'm just saying it'd be kind of funny if that were the case.
Yeah, and this sometimes it works out. Like Disney did this with the Lion King. The Lion King is based off of Hamlet. Hamlet is based off of Omelette. So Omelette is like a Norse mythology. Hamlet is Shakespeare. Same story. He just translated it, but it's still the same region, at least, like same continent. Then Disney took that and made Lion King and made it, about African lions and the African desert. And now they make a broad, like a Disney Broadway play of Lion King. So it's African American people doing basically a Norse mythological story. But Lion King, like, that people enjoyed, right? It was animated. It was different enough. People enjoyed. This is just so on the nose with it. No one's gonna enjoy this. It's gonna take you out of the movie every time you see it. Where animated animals talking, you don't really think about that sort of stuff. Anyways, I think we don't really need this one either. This one's kind of, our point's kind of getting a bit redundant with this. Yeah, you can close out of that one too if you want, or you can read Compare the Experts, either way. But yeah, that is the whole thing with the Odyssey. They are wanting to, essentially, to summarize my point, is they are wanting to attack. It's a spiritual war. They're attacking us through mythology, through culture, through our stories, through our archetypes, attacking the spirit of man, so man doesn't go through the rites of passage ritual, go through the fire, become strong, band together, and create a better world, a world of, that's more akin to the Shire, right? And so it's where it's it's a psyop, it's a psychological operation, is attacking of the spirit archetypally through myths. So young boys don't have a hero to look up to. Oh yeah, we almost forgot. Achilles, the last thing we were talking about. There is the rumor going around online that Ellen Page, who's a guy now who's trans, who's a woman pretending to be a man, is going to play Achilles. It hasn't been announced officially yet. That's kind of besides the point that we're making here with this. Because they do this all the time anyways, right? And the reason why people are talking about it is because they're watching the trailers, they know the scenes where Achilles are in, and they're thinking that the scenes that the brief scenes that we see of Ellen Page looks like a scene that you would see Achilles in. So it's just, they're trying to piece things together because they haven't announced it, probably due to too much of a backlash. They're waiting a bit on that because they already knew the race drop was going to be a backlash within itself. And they're probably just testing out the waters to exuberate all the talking points over time. We see this happen with, like, when in the Harry Potter series they're doing on HBO Max, and they cast Black Snape. They leaked it. They had people kind of talk about it a little bit online before they made the official announcement. So like all the talking points was already exuberated, already talked about, and people was just exhausted by it and memeified it by the time they actually made the announcement. So, and then of course that didn't matter because the meme became life of its own. Similar kind of situation with the Achilles saying it hasn't been announced yet, but it's being talked. It's being memeified. It's breach containment. There's already jokes and, like I said, memes about it, and so people are already talking about it. So whether it is 100% accurate to Ellen Page is playing Achilles or not, again, there's other movies where they've done these things too, where they're demasculating these heroes. So even if in the last minute they're like, haha, we got you, Ellen Page isn't playing Achilles, which again probably is. But again, that's kind of besides the point. The point is, it's believable they could and will do it because they've demasculated men through stories for decades, and just accelerating to the point, and we're just tired of it, right? And so it really is a spiritual attack on us, and like they're attacking us through our own myths. They're showing, like, what you could be. Well, we're going to subvert it. We're going to ruin it in front of you. Be like, you can't be that anymore. So that's why it's so important to have stories that inspire young men and women. In this case, we're just talking about masculine archetype here because we're guys, of course. But it's so important to have stories for young men, so they're not aimless, which they want us to be. They want us to be aimless, goyim, essentially.
Thanks for tuning in to Channel KOK. broadcasted from the Kingdom of Eternal Reign.
Channel KOK.